Hey guys, excuse me. Yeah, so no camera today. But anyway, I was looking at this video. I just finished watching it. Um, it was a court case. Actually, it was a sentencing about this guy who was a PIPM. Wait, PI. What am I saying? PIMP. Duh. I'm sorry. I'm trying to. I don't know about YouTube, but anyway, and he was a trafficker. So it was a very interesting, crazy, intense case. I mean, from the victims, some of the victims coming up speaking, just the whole case in general, and then to find out that he came here to to Maryland. He was he got locked up in Rockville for doing the same thing back in 2015. I'm like, what? Oh my God, he's from Ohio. He made it all the way to Maryland. So anyway, that was surprising. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it. And just to let you know, you guys, this is a long video. So hopefully you have time to sit down and watch it. I learn a lot from every time I watch these type of videos. It's just a learning. I can't explain all the things that I just think about, like, yep. And then the things that I notice, like, yep, that's exactly what they do. And oh, it's so sad, you know? It is so sad how certain men can manipulate women so, so easily. I've been a victim. Shoot. I think we've all fell victim to that. And vice versa for men too. There's some scandalous 304s out here. So, I'm not hating on men at all. I'm just saying this case is about a man and what he was doing, and he has no respect for women whatsoever. His mama don't even have no respect. Can you believe his mama is involved in this too? What? Mm, mm, mm. She all on recording, and they got the jail calls. He's talking about this and that. I mean, you're being recorded. That is crazy. And they definitely used it right against you, as they should. As you was talking crazy on that phone. Like, I feel, oh man, I feel bad for the women who encountered this man and had to deal with him for 10 years. Like, it was 12 of them, matter of fact. I don't want to tell the whole story, but it was 12 of them. And I believe 4 of them showed up in court. So we're going to watch it. Like I said, if you don't have time, excuse me, if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, watch it in pieces or whatever, or put on your earphones, do some housework, and just listen to this court case. It's crazy. It's really crazy, you guys. So let me go get it. Let me go get this. Because I was like, I can't believe what I'm watching here. So, like I said, if you have time, great. If you don't, you can just sit back and
download our
listen.
CTV apps and follow us on.
You can either just sit back and listen or come back and watch it later. But I'm telling you, you gotta watch it from the beginning to the end. It's crazy. It is crazy. Hold on, let me set this. Let me do this. Okay, so wait a minute. Okay, I just had to do something. Do something. Anyway, so let's go.
Social media at Cleveland 19 News.
Oh, let me fast forward a little bit. Oh, that's the end. My fault, because I just got done watching it.
I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to take you into the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas for a sentencing. And I want to be very clear, when we start talking about human trafficking, there's a couple of different kinds of human trafficking. What we see in the movies, people who are shipped in boxes or containers, that's one kind. Right there you see the man as DeAndre Inkton. He is accused and has pleaded guilty to basically being a pimp. And that is the other side of human trafficking. That is somebody who controls women, forces them to have sex for money, and then they keep the majority, if not all, of that money. I do want to warn you, they were playing some of the audio tapes earlier that the judge is probably going to hear, and there is going to be some offensive language. I believe they are recorded phone calls from the jail that he was making to the woman who was in charge of his operation while he was in jail on another charge. So there is going to be some offensive language played out. About a 10-year span from 2014 to 2024. He has already pleaded guilty to 3 counts of trafficking in persons, 4 counts in promoting prostitution, 1 count of sexual battery, 1 count of money laundering, and 1 count of possessing criminal tools. This is a massive case for Cuyahoga County. This is someone who was running these operations for multiple years with multiple women. Let's take you live into the courtroom.
Really quick, shout out to 19 News. I'm not sure if they're based in Ohio, but yeah, shout out to y'all. Like, I'm glad this came up on my feed. So I'm gonna let this play for a while, and yeah, just I'm gonna come in maybe in the 15-minute mark, come in and just say whatever's going on, commentate whatever I have to do. But yeah, y'all need to tune into this. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss one word.
So who is present today is a representative of Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 3, Jane Doe 9, and Jane Doe 10.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Johnson, is there any reason to not proceed with your client's sentencing today?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mr. Inkton, we were last in court on February 5th of this year, and at that time you did enter pleas of guilty to an amended indictment. You entered pleas of guilty to counts 1, 11, and 25, each count being trafficking in persons, commercial sex acts, and those counts were amended to include all listed victims. Those counts are in violation of Ohio Revised Code 2905.32A1. Each count is a felony of the first degree. Mr. Inkton, count 1 is subject to an indefinite sentence pursuant to Rogento's sentencing law. We did discuss this in detail at the time of your plea, and for that count, I will announce both a base and a maximum prison term. The base term will be 10 to 15 years in yearly increments. That is mandatory prison, and the tail of that term will be the base plus 50%. Do you have any questions about the indefinite sentence which you will receive?
No, so it's indefinite, that's considered as mandatory time for Regento?
So the way that it works, Mr. Inkton, is when I announce the base prison term, that will again be 10 to 15 years, anywhere in that range in yearly increments. When I announce that sentence, that will be the sentence that I believe is the appropriate sentence for the offense. The tail of the sentence will be the base plus 50%. There is a presumption once you serve that base prison term that you will be released. ODRC has the legal right under Senate Bill 201 to rebut the presumption and extend your period of confinement of 50%. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Do you want to go over again what could bring that into play?
No.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Inkton, counts 11 and 25, those are again the trafficking in persons felony of the first degree. Each of those is punishable by a mandatory 10 to 15 years in yearly increments, as well as a maximum fine of $20,000. You also entered a plea of guilty to counts 10, 16, and 31. Each of those counts is promoting prostitution in violation of Ohio Revised Code 2907.22A2. Each of those counts as a felony of the 4th degree. Each is punishable by a maximum 6 to 18 months in prison and a maximum fine of $5,000. You also entered a plea of guilty to an amended count 15, sexual battery, in violation of Ohio Revised Code 2907.03A1. This charge is a felony of the 3rd degree. Do you need a moment, Mr. Johnson?
One moment.
Sure.
Dan DeRose with 19 News here. Mr. DeAndre Inkton having a little bit of a problem with what he's about to be faced with sentencing-wise, having some questions from his attorney.
Yeah, he's gonna have a whole lot of problems through this thing. He is a mess. His attorney is a mess. His defense is a mess. Everything that man come out his mouth, the defense attorney is a mess. This is, I mean, I know they got to play their role. They got to do what they're supposed to do and, you know, defend their client or whatever. But it was just so like repetitive to me. I'm like, okay, here we go with the with the whatever, the defense. It was another word I had. I can't think of it. But here we go with the BS. That's one thing with this attorney, because he's got to try to prove this piece of crap isn't his innocence. And child, he is a mess. He is mean. He is evil. He is vicious, and he don't give a damn. He ain't got no remorse. You'll see.
Of the 3rd degree, it is punishable by 1 to 5 years in yearly increments and a maximum fine of $10,000. And Mr. Inkton, as we discussed at the time of your plea, you will be subject to registration as a Tier 3 sex offender. At the time of your plea, we did go through your registration requirements in detail. I did read each one of them to you, and you did answer in the affirmative that you understood all of the registration requirements. Do you recall that conversation?
I do.
Do you have any questions today about your registration requirements? Okay, and Mr. Inkton, I have presented your lawyer with an explanation of duties to register as a sex offender form, which indicates that you acknowledge the requirements have been explained to you and that you must abide by all of the provisions of the Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 2950. I'm going to ask at this time that you please sign the form, and I will sign it as well.
Your Honor, this judge, he's not going to sign the form.
Okay, Mr. Inkton, are you unwilling to sign the registration requirements?
That's correct.
Okay, counsel, can you please present me with the form?
May I approach?
Yes, you may. I am going to indicate that you refuse to sign, and I will sign it and date it for today's date.
Here it comes.
Okay, Mr. Inkton, additionally, when you were last in court on February 5th, you entered a plea of guilty to count 21, which is promoting prostitution with a human trafficking specification. That's in violation of Ohio Revised Code 2907.22.
It was 12 of them.
And 2941.
I don't know.
1422A.
Can you hear me? Maybe.
This charge is a felony of the 4th degree. It is punishable by a maximum 6 to 18 months in prison, as well as a maximum $5,000 fine. And additionally, prison is mandatory on count 21. You also entered a plea of guilty to count 32, money laundering, in violation of Ohio Revised Code 1315.5581. This charge is a felony of the 3rd degree. It is punishable by a maximum 9, 12, 18, 24, 30, or 36 months in prison, and a maximum fine of $10,000. You also entered a plea of guilty to count 34, possessing criminal tools with forfeiture specifications, in violation of Ohio Revised Code 2923.24A and 2941.1417A. This charge is a felony of the 5th degree, punishable by a maximum 6 to 12 months in prison and a maximum fine of $2,500. In exchange for your guilty pleas, all remaining counts were dismissed. In preparation for today's hearing, the court has received and reviewed a number of documents. A pre-sentence investigation report dated March 3rd of this year, a mitigation of penalty report dated March 25th of this year, the state's sentencing memorandum, which was filed under seal, as well as numerous letters of support that were submitted by defense counsel to the court. Have the parties read and reviewed these documents prior to hearing? On behalf of the state of Ohio. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. And on behalf of the defense. Thank you. At this time, turning first to the state of Ohio, Ms. Colucci, what would you like this court to consider prior to imposing sentence?
I was muted. Damn. She about to lay it on him for real. She's a great prosecutor. Love her. Okay, let me go back.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Judge DeAndre Inkton took advantage of, abused, and sold a dozen women over the span of a decade. When the Human Trafficking Task Force encountered him, that was in 2023. And quickly in that investigation, they were able to learn that the exploitation of these women spanned much further than that. Some of the evidence in this case showed back in 2014, Mr. Inkton began researching and learning how to be a pimp, and particularly how to exploit vulnerable women. Found on his laptop from 2014, he was Googling things like hoe names, what do pimps say, pimp movies, Pimpology, which is known as a book that talks about how to be a pimp. Ultimately, when there was a search warrant done at his home, they found other research things that he was using, other books like The Pimp's Bible, Playing in Traffic, books that talk about how to deal with different types of women and their vulnerabilities, specifically the multiple types of pimps you can be and the multiple types of sex workers there are and how to control them. So in addition to this online research and books that he read, he would keep notes of these things that he learned, which were also found in the search warrants at his home. Keeping notes on different phrases to use, ways that he would use to manipulate women to do ultimately what he wanted. Things that kind of repeated themselves through these writings that we found of the defendant, like this last one claiming purse first, ass last, which was found in some of those books and research that he looked into, meaning you need to make sure you get my money first before you provide a John with any sex acts. And he used this research and he made rules for the women that were under his control, rules that they needed to follow, and then he kept them in these notes. They were also found in his iCloud data that was recovered in the search warrant, including rules like that similar thing. Purse first, ass last. No out of pocket, meaning you need to be under my control. Don't do anything that is outside of what I would expect from you. Didn't want any women that had children. Don't worry about what these other girls are doing with me. Don't talk when I'm talking.
Well, if you all need a moment to discuss something, I'm happy to give you that time, but you cannot speak through the state's remarks. Thank you.
Ironically, Judge, one of his rules for the women that he controlled was they couldn't talk at the same time as when he was talking. Some of these women would be around other friends of his that were also pimps, and they weren't allowed to look them in the eyes. Because if they looked in the eyes of another man or someone that he feared could control them, they would get in trouble for that, because that means he could lose them to that man. He kept things like vows of what these women would submit to him. I submit to never lie to you. I vow to follow your rules. I vow to love you to the best of my ability. And at the end saying that there is absolutely zero tolerance. If you mess up with one of these rules or expectations of DeAndre Inkton, you're out. And Judge, to a lot of these women, that meant they didn't have a place to sleep at night. They didn't have a place to get food. They didn't have a support system. They didn't have anyone else. And they had to follow these expectations from the defendant. Additionally, in his iCloud data, he kept screenshots talking about different types of women and how to handle them. Talking about how a pimp never depends just on one sex worker. One is too little, that you need much more than one to make sure you're profitable. Taking screenshots of things like Skip the Games and other well-known websites where sex work is advertised on. And then other screenshots were found in his phone of additional books to research in audiobooks, like The Pimp Game or Hoe Tactics.
I'm sorry to pause it, y'all, but you know how this YouTube game go. So look, this man was studying like he was in college, like he was trying to get a degree in this. I mean, he is thorough. He's taking notes. He's doing everything. Okay. And later on, when they show the pictures of him and how he used to live, oh my goodness. Damn shame off these women's back.
He kept screenshots of advice that he also would receive on the internet, following different pimp accounts on social media. One referencing P. Diddy building a team, which the defendant often referenced having multiple women on his team, multiple women that he exploited, and to him, he called that his team. Additional screenshots from the defendant's iCloud data showing other books about being a pimp that he had screenshot on Instagram, and other advice that he kept on his phone about how best to control these women. Now, Judge, when he studied and learned all of these things, he then used it to prey on vulnerable women in our community. He sought out women that had vulnerabilities, and once he found those vulnerabilities, he used it to exploit them. Whether it be having a place to stay or shelter. Some of the women, when the defendant encountered them, didn't have a home, and he let them live with him, stay in his house with the expectation that they'd have to sell themselves to have somewhere to sleep. A lot of the women didn't have a good support system, or maybe grew up in an abusive family situation on their own. And he would use that against them to exploit them. Knowing that they had no other support system, he would threaten to leave them, and knowing that if he did leave them, they were afraid of that because they had nobody else. Some of these women thought, most of these women thought, that they were in a relationship with this man, that he was abusive and toxic, but at the end of the day, that they were together. When in reality, he was taking advantage of each and every one of them. And when those vulnerabilities weren't enough to get them to do what he wanted, which was selling their bodies and giving him all of the proceeds, he would beat them. He caused countless busted lips, black eyes, swollen faces. Some women went to the hospital and got stitches. Some women went to the hospital for broken ribs. And it was shown throughout the text messages recovered from his iCloud data. When they received these injuries from him, what were they still expected to do? Go and sell their bodies. One woman saying, I have a bruise on the side of my face. You think that a trick or a customer for sex work is going to want to go see me? And his response before that was, let me know if you get an out call. An individual that is going to pay you for sex tonight after he had bruised her face. Another individual texting the defendant, my rib cage, it hurts to breathe. All I could do right now is provide oral sex to these customers. And the defendant's response is, rest, eat, and ice, you'll be fine. You didn't make anything out there last night? And she told him everyone wanted to have sex. And based on the condition that he put her body in, she wasn't able to do that. Another woman, the defendant telling her, post your ad now. I need you to meet 2 customers before I get there. I'm wasting money all week. She responds, I will, Daddy. The defendant says, just know if we don't make over $500 today, I'm kicking your ass for putting me through this bullshit. So when these women were not making enough money to his satisfaction, he would beat them in response. Another individual, the defendant texts, don't call me until you've got some effing money. I'm tired of your effing nagging and selling fake dreams. She responds upset, tells him K, apparently to the defendant, gives him some attitude he's upset with, and he tells her, when I beat your effing face in, I want you to keep that same energy. Another individual, the defendant texts, upset that she is not loyal to him, that she is not doing what he expects. And he says, if I was there, I would kick your effing head through the wall. She says, why would you do that to me, Daddy? I'm sorry. And his response is, don't worry. You could be sleeping and wake up with me right over your ass. Threatening that he may not be there at this moment to beat her, but he might be when she wakes up.
Damn it, I need to keep the mute off because I just start talking. But listen, imagine that. Imagine somebody say that to you and you got to, and just the way that this person is, like, how could you sleep? I would be sleeping with my doors locked, and but I wouldn't even be in that situation, thank God. But I'm just saying, these women had it really, really bad. Like, it just gets worse. And then when your mom is in it too, I hope his mother is in jail. I really do. She needs to be in jail right along with him.
Another individual, he's texting saying, I don't care about your feelings. I care about effing money being made. Stop asking me questions. I don't care about you, ho. Does that make me rich or pay my bills? So no. I don't care about you asking me dumb questions. Lastly, Judge, another example just of the way that the defendant treated these women, specifically in the physical abuse, not even to mention the psychological or emotional abuse that he put these women through. He's upset that one girl appears to be complaining to him. Tells her, stop complaining, ho, and get some money. You sound like an effing square. His response is that she doesn't make enough money for him to even say anything like that. So she needs to stay in her lane and focus on getting money and get out of her feelings. Judge, another one of the women in this case, by chance or maybe by the grace of God, her phone started recording during one of these beatings, if you believe it or not. And we have a recording of that I can show to this court of exactly how the defendant sounded when he was doing this to these women?
I better be good on the poor shit. Go get it. Get it.
For your reference, Judge, he's asking for her to provide the money she made that day when he says it better be good. For your reference, he is mentioning it better be good, the money she made that day, or else.
If I come in, why did you point it out? And this whole fucking bottle, if I come back later, and this whole fucking bottle is gone by 7 o'clock, I'm gonna beat your fucking face in. Can you hear me? Do you understand? Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear me? If this bottle is gone when I come back, I'm gonna beat your fucking. Where is it? Come on, man. That is it. That's it. Oh, that's it. There you go. Drinking, food, gun shit. I ain't not ready to eat now. What you got on this night? Just like you got just like you Hey! No.
So Judge, as you heard in that recording, initially the defendant asks for her money that she made from the sex work that day. They're talking about a bottle of liquor that he provided to her. And this particular Jane Doe, which was Jane Doe 1, struggled with alcohol. And the defendant used that as a way to control her. Sometimes controlling consumption, like you heard on this audio. Other times, using it as a reward. If she made enough money, he would get her a bottle. Some days she had to choose between getting a bottle of alcohol or getting food for the day. As a judge, you saw in the text messages filed in the state's sentencing memorandum. So you hear him arguing with her about the amount of alcohol that's in the bottle there. And Judge, I want it to be clear, certainly by no means was it a way the defendant was attempting to help this individual or her addiction issues with alcohol. The reality was, if she got too drunk, she wasn't an asset to him. She couldn't work. If she was so drunk, she was unable to have sex with customers. So we had to control the amount of alcohol she took to make sure she was still able to be profitable to him. And then you hear in the recording as it goes on, the defendant, when he gets the money from her, saying that's it, that can't be it. Thinking that there has to be more. Maybe she's keeping some money to herself, which certainly these women were not allowed to do. And when he takes that money, you hear her say, "Now I don't even have money to eat today." And then the defendant proceeds to beat her. You hear the scuffling in the audio recording, and this woman pleading, "No, daddy, stop. No, no, no." This is the way the defendant would control these women for over a decade. He kept notes of what these women were required to do. He kept notes of scripts of what they were supposed to say to customers or Johns, making sure that they asked them if they're affiliated with law enforcement, what their age or race was, what's their occupation, or what are they looking for, things that he needed to know. Before one of these girls could go and perform his work. And then he kept prices in papers and notebooks of $300 for a half hour with a customer, $400 with an hour with a customer, and also kept a list of things to do if any of these women did encounter law enforcement. He told them they were required to put their phone in airplane mode. And then he would know that they encountered law enforcement, arguing with her about the amount of alcohol that's in the bottle there. And Judge, I want it to be clear, certainly by no means was it a way the defendant was attempting to help this individual or her addiction issues with alcohol. The reality was, if she got too drunk, she wasn't an asset to him. She couldn't work. If she was so drunk, she was unable to have sex with customers. So we had to control the amount of alcohol she took to make sure she was still able to be profitable to him. And then you hear in the recording as it goes on, the defendant, when he gets the money from her, saying, "That's it, that can't be it," thinking that there has to be more. Maybe she's keeping some money to herself, which certainly these women were not allowed to do. And when he takes that money, you hear her say, "Now I don't even have money to eat today." And then the defendant proceeds to beat her. You hear the scuffling in the audio recording, and this woman pleading, "No, daddy, stop. No, no, no." This is the way the defendant would control these women for over a decade. He kept notes of what these women were required to do. He kept notes of scripts of what they were supposed to say to customers or Johns, making sure that they asked them if they're affiliated with law enforcement, what their age or race was, what's their occupation, or what are they looking for, things that he needed to know before one of these girls could go and perform his work. And then he kept prices in papers and notebooks of $300 for a half hour with a customer, $400 with an hour with a customer, and also kept a list of things to do if any of these women did encounter law enforcement. He told them they were required to put their phone in airplane mode. And then he would know that they encountered law enforcement, what to say to the police, that if they ask if you have a boyfriend or a pimp or any man involved that they were required to say no. Because he knew they certainly could get in much less trouble for solicitation versus the defendant for controlling their every move. And when the defendant did this, and the women under his control went out and sold their bodies for him, he took 100% of the proceeds. And he bragged about it. Most of these photos are from his own cell phone. $100 bills, some are from the search warrant found stacked in his house. When he exploited these women, he made tens of thousands of dollars. And they had to ask him if they were allowed to eat, if they were allowed to sleep or take a nap, or when they could go to bed at the end of the day. Because this is the lifestyle he got to have, that he wanted and promoted. He could be this guy in the fancy clothes and the cool cars because he's a pimp. And he put on this persona, spent time with other pimps. And I think each of these photos shows the defendant with Dante Cole, his partner that he taught how to be a pimp, gave him tips on exactly what to do. And then he was arrested on one of the times. They took a child and women to Pennsylvania to traffic them there.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. He's not charged with taking a child across state lines.
Thank you. Your objection is noted.
And for the record, Judge Dante Cole is charged for taking the child across state lines. And this judge is what he has done for over a decade. And it seems, or so he thought, that he perfected this craft. And most importantly, he was never held responsible for it, and he never is going to stop. His criminal history shows he's been arrested 3 previous times for human trafficking related offenses in multiple different states.
There's no conviction with respect to what she's showing. And I've been quiet most of this morning while she's putting on her, of course, the pony show. But her showing situations where he was arrested and not convicted should not be taken into account with respect to the sentencing here today. So I strenuously object to this matter of what she's trying to do to make
You don't
it
do
fine.
that.
We're already here for an hour for a sentence.
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
Sure.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Certainly, as you know, one of the things you need to consider is the defendant's criminal history and his ability to reoffend or lack of remorse. And I certainly think the court needs to consider that he's been apprehended by police previously, whether he was convicted or not. Frankly, the reason why he wasn't convicted is because these women were still under his control when it went to court.
Judge,
Thank you. Your objection is noted.
and with respect to his recidivism, the state of Ohio has a nice fancy program, and it said he was at the moderate level, not the high risk that she's perpetrating here in the courtroom today. I think she looked at the PSI and it said moderate risk, not high, not super high. She's trying to make him out to be some type of monster, and
Which he is.
it's not fair, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, your objection is noted. I have your client's criminal history. I'm certainly aware what's a conviction versus what's an arrest. And again, your objection is noted. Ms. Palucci, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. So specifically 3 times in the defendant's history, he's been arrested for human trafficking related offenses, all in multiple different states. Now, Judge, while he met most of these women or targeted most of these women here in Cleveland, Ohio, where the defendant's from and most of these women were from, he would then send them out or take them out to different states that could be more lucrative, say, for that week or that weekend and make him more money. So in 2015, he was arrested in Secaucus, New Jersey, charged with promoting prostitution, robbery, burglary, possession of a weapon. In 2015, in the District Court of Maryland, he was charged with human trafficking. In 2016, in Arlington, Virginia, he was charged with strangulation. And the report indicates that a sex worker was strangled by her pimp. And Judge, some of these victims are here today. Some of these victims are the women that we're talking about, that the defendant took advantage of, abused, and there were even reports about it in the past. And my point is, Judge, that when the defendant is arrested, not the first time does he think, I got away with it. Maybe I should be more careful. Not the second time does he say, maybe I shouldn't be involved in this anymore. I got lucky again. I should probably stop being involved in this type of crime. Not the third time does he stop. And Judge, I submit to you that he's continued to exploit women since then, and he will continue after today. That your sentence today, Judge, determines essentially when his next victim will be.
Damn it. I need to take my mute off and leave it off because I just be talking. Look, trust me, he is the type. He does want to do it again. Wait till y'all hear this phone call with him and his mother. This lawyer, it know what she's talking about. I love her. I want to see her do more cases. And the ending is just so wonderful, especially what the judge says. Okay, let's continue. I know this is a long one, y'all, but it's worth watching. Trust me.
Will it be in 10 years? Will it be in 20 years? Will it be in 30 years? Because every time law enforcement has tried to hold him responsible, he has never stopped, including the last time he was in this courthouse in 2019 for a child endangering case. While that case was pending, he was exploiting these women and doing the things that we have just talked about. Not only while the case was pending, Judge, but while he was in prison. He went to prison and still controlled and exploited these women through his mom.
This call is originating from the Ohio Correctional Facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Hello? Okay. Did y'all go back to the house yet? Okay, how much money did y'all put in? That's all y'all made after that?
No, we took care of some stuff we were supposed to. I put some money on the ticket and they had, something, sorry, something heard.
Okay, where's little lady at? Cause I can't make another call. Where did you hear the phone real quick?
She's in her room, she's trying to get in touch with her for the last.
Go wake her ass up.
So that's the first call, Judge, after he is sentenced to prison by Judge Ashley Cobain. And he is first reaching out to Jane Doe 12 in this case, and a woman that he's exploiting at that time, asking how much money they made, and then seemingly upset about the amount, saying that's it, you didn't make much more since then, and then asking her to go wake up another one of the girls.
Been slow? A whole bunch, not with you though, with her, right?
We didn't end up.
Alright, well then y'all need to move, man, and when y'all get 2,500 boxes, man, that's when y'all need to go home, so this is the busiest fucking, I'm so mad that I'm not out right now, this is the busiest month of the fucking year.
Then, Judge, you hear him on another call to a sex worker that he was exploiting, talking about needing to move cities or states because there have been busts there lately, and that when they make $2,500, that's when they need to move on.
What she told me about how this is what I need to do because I know she on the fuck shit. Every time you get 2,500, I need y'all to put up two boxes.
I don't do that though. I just take it with me back to try to make sure everything gets where it needs to be.
Okay, so you gave everything to my mom?
Yeah, I bills and stuff.
Okay,
I got my shirt and I got my nails done.
That's cool, that's fine. I don't want you to do all that. But every time you get something to my mom, I want you to mark it down in your phone so that I can count it when I get out to make sure everything is everything, okay?
Okay.
So in this call, Judge, you hear the defendant telling the women that while he's in custody, to provide their proceeds of the sex work to his mother, and that his mother will keep that money, and they need to make sure they keep tabs of how much they're making every day so that he can count it all when he's released from custody. Again, while he's in prison, showing that he has absolutely no intention to stop this behavior. Now, the next call you'll hear is the first time he talks to his mom after he becomes incarcerated, and they talk about this plan.
How you doing?
Oh man, thank God. You need to say that and give me the wrong fucking number. For 2 weeks straight, I've been calling the wrong number. I said, nigga, how the fuck you gonna give me the wrong number? She talked about some 8086. The whole time it was 0806. He did that shit on purpose, man. I'm just like fucking up that ass when I get out.
No, you got this recording shot.
Yeah, she get on my goddamn nerves.
So you hear there, Judge, the first time the defendant's able to get in contact with his mom, he's frustrated that it's taken him so long. And then he learns that it's because one of the Jane Does gave him the wrong number for her. And he tells his own mother he's gonna smack the shit out of her. And she's the one that tells him to stop and that this line is recorded.
You trying to keep 2,500 for yourself.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
I said, no, we told this city, I never pay a fee. I need $2. We don't hold up to 2,500. You got $3.
She got more than 2,000, she got 4,000, but she lying. But that's okay, man. Don't stress about what Gigi doing. Fuck Gigi. We're going to do what she got them. We're going to give you 4,000. Don't stress about what Gigi doing, man. I don't believe she was going to fuck with one that's out of here. Please, don't stress about what Gigi doing. All right. Don't stress about what Mommy doing. I don't give a fuck about neither one of them, okay?
Okay.
And you hear in that call with the defendant's mother, she's reporting back to him that one of the girls is keeping money.
You see how that is, right? You see how the mom is like full-fledged in it. She's collecting money. She needs to be locked up too. What if that was her daughter? It just trifling. Like these people, it's just so many stories out there, you guys, that I be wanting to share. Shit I watch every day. So I'm gonna try to drop a video every day. I'll try not to have them this long, but I mean the whole thing is needed to be seen, man. It's needed to be seen. Watch out for these niggas with money, for real. Excuse my language.
Only giving the mom $2,500, and she knows that that's insufficient. And the defendant tells her, don't worry about it. I don't care about these girls. F them. Judge, even throughout the pendency of this case, the defendant has continued to manipulate the system. He's tried to contact victims in this case while it was pending to avoid being held responsible. He's pled to this court about conditions or access to jail calls downstairs, Judge, all while using another individual's PIN and thinking that this court or law enforcement had no ability to know that he was doing that. Even on this day, he has never taken any responsibility. The day that he pled, he did not take responsibility or show any remorse. In phone calls that day to his family and friends, stating that he will plead just so that he can get out on appeal later. He has never taken any sort of responsibility or shown remorse or even acknowledged that any of these actions are wrong, Judge. And I don't expect that that's going to change today. At this point, I would ask that the representatives or victims are allowed to speak to the court. Starting first judge with a representative of Jane Doe 1.
Oh boy, the victims, y'all. The victims. Mm-mm-mm.
Good morning, Your Honor. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Jen-
Please state your full name for the record.
Jennifer Pritchard of the Assistant Public Defender for Jane Doe number 1. She states to the defendant, "You have impacted my life in a negative way. I don't respect you. You lied to me, abused me, used me for your own personal gain. We all came from broken homes. We didn't have parents. We didn't have family. And you fed on that. You made us feel like you loved us. In the end, you lied. You took advantage of us and controlled us with violence and threats. I didn't deserve the way that you treated me, and the other girls did not deserve that treatment either. We loved you and genuinely cared about you, but you just dogged us, and for that, you are going to get what you deserve." Thank you, Your Honor.
At this time, Judge, I'd ask that Jane Doe 2 and her representative come up to make a statement for you.
Yes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Please state your full name.
Yes, my name is Tracy Springford, victim advocate on behalf of the victims.
Springford,
Springford.
Springford.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you.
Your Honor, this victim would like to the court to know that, in her words, you took everything away from me, you stole from me, made me believe that I was the only one. The abuse you put me through, the pain, nothing will ever make up for that. You took my teenage and adult years away. 7 years, time away from my family. I missed my daughter's first steps, first everything, and her growing up because of you. Because of all of the abuse you did to me, I now have seizures, pain, and nightmares. I have a bullet stuck in my leg for the rest of my life. I'm scared and terrified of people, and I do not trust anyone. I have PTSD. I wish I had never met you. I wish I could go back in time and not have experienced the sexual abuse of my body. Now someone is taking your time away from you and your child, finally. I am really hurting and cannot get back the time I lost with my family. What you put me through, I would never wish on anybody. Thank you.
At this time, Judge, I would ask Jane Doe 3 to come forward.
I thought you cared about me. When things didn't go your way, you flipped or dogged me or called me out my name. He doesn't care about people. He hurt people. He messed me up physically and mentally. He told me that he was there for me and that
Stop talking.
he told me that nobody would love or care for me like he did. And if you can't give him the time that he needs so he can feel the pain that we feel and what we went through.
Next coming forward, Judge, is Jane Doe 9. Yes.
First, before I read this, I would like to just say, when I first met Mr. Inkton, I was 17 years old, and I've known Durst and Ms. Palucci since I've been growing up. So I regret ever giving you the chance to love me. Sometimes my mind still plays tricks on me, telling me that you deserve another chance.
Slow down just a little bit more. Deep breath.
We both know that you don't deserve another chance. I don't know what's wrong with my heart. It gives me the option to love but not to hate. Why? How is this possible? After everything I've been through, I should be the coldest one out here, but I can't. I just can't. How can you say that you love all of me when you're the one who made me hate all of me? I hate all of the people that know me and see the real me. I know they hate her as much as I do. How could I be capable of such things? I don't recognize the girl that I see in the mirror anymore. Who are you? You're definitely not the little girl I remember. I wouldn't call you a monster, but I don't even know you anymore. I once loved all of me, but now when I look at myself in the mirror, all I see is the girl you told me I'd never be. You turned me into her. You made me into somebody I'm not. You said continue on with my life and be normal. Normal? This is normal for you? Not for me. What is normal? I said, none of it, from the feeling or the physicality of things, will ever be normal for me. You've changed my life after multiple times of me telling you what was going on between the things that I had going on with my actual family and me growing up and being molested my whole life. You just made me turn into a whole different person, and I hope that the judge here today, after listening to everything that everyone has to say, gives you the time that you deserve to think and regret and feel.
Thank you so much.
And lastly, Judge, will be Jane Doe 10.
Again, Tracy Springford on behalf of the victim, Your Honor. Previous trauma in my life made it easy for Dre to take advantage of me. I was looking for love in my life and he was there. The after effect of what happened to me is that I have had suicidal thoughts, cut myself, and used more drugs and alcohol than before. I have distanced myself from my family after this. Because I've experienced jail and prison, I know that being locked up does not necessarily help people with their mental health, and they do not get the help that they need. I want Dre to get help. I do want him to get jail time, but I know that he also has loved ones who need him.
Your Honor, with that, I think it is clear, based on the facts in this case, the defendant's actions, the way it has affected the women that you heard from and some that you haven't heard from today. I know they've expressed to me that they have nightmares, some waking up thinking the defendant is standing above him as he threatened in those text messages. And it is something that affects their daily life every single day, that they're still trying to heal from the vulnerabilities that the defendant sought out and exploited, in addition to the trauma that he caused them. I think all of the aggravating factors that this court has to consider weigh heavily against the defendant. Certainly, there is significant findings for consecutive sentences, which is why the state is requesting consecutive sentences on all human trafficking counts. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so it's almost over, you guys. I know this is a very long one. I'm gonna try to do short videos, but I just had to do this one. So it's about 10 more minutes. No, it looks like 15 more minutes, and I'm just gonna let it play through and hope I don't get this striked or whatever. I don't think I will, because it's fair use, and this is very educational. Okay.
Mr. Johnson, on behalf of your client.
Briefly, Your Honor, please support. As you know, my client is 32 years of age, and he's taking responsibility by way of prison. Your Honor, he's supported here by all family members. And I think this is the situation that he wants to get behind it. Now, the state was allowed to put on a mini trial. But my client opted not to go to trial to spare some of these people cross-examination. Because as we know, a lot of these women were already prostitutes before they met my client. And I'm not here to blame these victims, but the mere fact that she alleges that he's controlling people from prison, if he's in prison, there's no way he can escape and harm anyone. If they're in a different state, they can turn their phone off and go to a police department and seek help. That wasn't the case, Judge. They argued that they were vulnerable and he took advantage of those vulnerabilities. But a majority of the time, he was never even present with them. And I'm not saying that to say he's taking responsibility. He took responsibility because the cross-examination over their behavior, and as you see, some of these women have deputy escorts for a reason. They've been in prison, they've been in jail for stuff not related to him. He didn't shoot nobody in the leg. You hear him talking about alcohol, the young lady's an alcoholic. I understand the spin that the state of Ohio wants to put on it, but she's over there getting drunk. So I think it's a little give and take here. He's taking responsibility. I think he's going to get up and apologize and be remorseful and contrite about the situation. But he has a very limited criminal history. The prosecution wants you to look at 14, 15, 16, he got arrested. But we know you got to have a conviction to use it against him. She's trying to play on emotions as opposed to actual convictions. He's going to do it again whenever he gets out. But when you look at the PSI, they've been doing this for years. He scored a moderate risk for recidivism. He graduated Miller High School. He went to Tri-C. Your Honor, they didn't say anything about the businesses that he was running before they came in and disrupted his life.
Off the pimp.
He had a Toro business. He was doing great. He had a cleaning business. He was doing great. He was doing great work. He's been a productive citizen.
Lies.
People got in trouble that he wasn't associated with anymore, and his name came up. So, Your Honor, he has 2 kids. We're just asking you to stay within the range between 10 and 15
They're not
years.
girls.
Right. In this particular situation. Thank you.
I hope you don't have no daughters.
Mr. Inkton, what would you like to say?
Your Honor, respectfully, everything I have to say will be said on my direct appeal pertaining to fruit of the Poison Street doctrine that was performed for the legal search and seizure by Detective John Morgan and cohort suspects that turned into victims on my case.
Piece of shit. Your appeal is not gonna go anywhere. You're gonna be denied. Piece of crap.
Before imposing sentence, the court notes for the record that it has considered the record, the oral statements made here today, the pre-sentence investigation report, the plea negotiations, the numerous victim impact statements made in court today, as well as the state's sentencing memorandum, the letters of support submitted by the defense, and the mitigation of penalty report. The court must and has formulated its decision based upon the overriding principles and purposes of felony sentencing, namely to protect the public from future crime by the defendant or others, and to punish the offender using the minimum sanctions that the court determines accomplish those purposes without imposing an unnecessary burden on the state or local government resources. To achieve these purposes, the court has considered the need for incapacitation, deterrence, rehabilitation, and providing for restitution. The court must and has also considered the seriousness and recidivism factors relevant to the offensive offender pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 2929-12. The court must and has ensured that the sentence being imposed does not demean the seriousness of the crime and the impact it has on the victims, and is consistent with other similar offenses committed by like offenders. Finally, this sentence is not based upon any impermissible purposes, namely the race, ethnic background, gender, or religion of Mr. Inkton. Mr. Inkton, do you understand all of that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, prior to announcing my sentence, I do just have a few brief remarks. I want to first just say a brief thank you to our law enforcement officers who are present in the courtroom today. I want to thank all of you for your thorough investigation, and your work on this case ended what can only be described as a nightmare for all of these young women, and for so many who aren't present in court today that we may not even know about. And your work was critical to finally bringing Mr. Inkton to justice. So I want to say thank you to all of you. And I now want to address the victims who are present in court today and those who were not able to be here. And I want to sincerely thank all of you. You are all so incredibly strong for participating in this prosecution. Not only for meeting behind the scenes with the state of Ohio and being ready should this case have proceeded to trial, but for having the courage to come to court and to face Mr. Inkton today. And if I'm honest with all of you, I don't know that I would have had that same strength. And I just want all of you to know how much I appreciate you being here. And I want to say to all of you that this situation, it does not define who you are. This situation is something that happened to you. It is not who you are. Mm-hmm. You are all worthy of love, safety, and security as you move forward in life.
Yes, Lord.
And please know and believe that. If you take nothing else from today's hearing, please know and believe that that is true for all of you. It is my hope that today's hearing is going to bring a sense of justice and closure to all of you on this traumatic series of events in your life, and that you will finally be able to begin the healing process and move forward. Amen. And again, thank you all for being here.
Amen. Yes, God.
Now to you, Mr. Inkton. I'm going to be brief because in large part the sentence that I hand down today is going to speak for itself. But I do have a few things that I would like to say to you. The trauma that you have caused your victims is undeniable. You controlled them psychologically, physically, sexually. Their bodies and their ability to consent no longer belonged to them, it belonged to you. You forced them to ask permission for the most basic human needs, such as eating and sleeping. You preyed on women who were extremely vulnerable. Many of your victims were battling homelessness, addiction, and mental health issues. You isolated them and created an environment where they relied on you for everything. You dehumanized them. Mr. Inkton, you are a person who has no respect for women. And I find it ironic that you sit here today, having been prosecuted by an all-female team, and you're about to be sentenced by a female judge.
Tell him.
I'm now prepared to announce my sentence.
Holiday.
With respect to count 1, trafficking in persons, felony of the first degree, the court imposes a sentence of 15 to 22.5 years. With respect to count 11, the court imposes a prison sentence of 15 years. With respect to count 25, the court imposes a prison sentence of 10 years. With respect to counts 10, 16, and 31, all counts promoting prostitution, felony of the fourth degree, the court imposes 18 months on each count. With respect to count 15, sexual battery, felony of the third degree, the court imposes a prison term of 5 years. And additionally, the court does designate you as a tier 3 sex offender. With respect to count 21, promoting prostitution, the court imposes a prison term of 18 months. Count 32, money laundering, the court imposes a prison term of 24 months. And finally, count 34, Possessing criminal tools, the court imposes a prison term of 9 months. All counts will run concurrently except for count 15, which is sexual battery, felony of the 3rd degree, and count 25, which is one of the human trafficking counts. Those counts will run consecutively. The court does make a finding that consecutive service is necessary to protect the public from future crime or to punish the defendant. That consecutive sentences are not disproportionate to the seriousness of the defendant's conduct and to the danger the defendant poses to the public, and that at least 2 of the multiple offenses were committed in this case as part of 1 or more courses of conduct, and the harm caused by said multiple offenses was so great or unusual that no single prison term for any of the offenses committed as part of any of the courses of conduct adequately reflects the seriousness of the defendant's conduct. With all of that being said, the total stated prison term is 30 to 37 and a half years.
Your Honor, no objections for the record.
No objection is noted. Mr. Anson, following the completion of this prison sentence, you will be subject to a mandatory 5 years of post-release control by the adult parole authority. When this period of post-release control is imposed following your release from prison, if you violate the conditions of the supervision, the parole board may impose a prison term as part of the sentence of up to 1/2 of your stated prison term. If you're on post-release control and you're convicted of a felony, in addition to the sentence, the judge may add an additional consecutive prison term of 1 year or what time remains on your post-release control term, whichever is greater as maximum. I will credit you for the 269 days you served in the county jail. Costs are waived. The defendant is remanded to sheriff's transport.
Your Honor, can you appoint appellate counsel in the reading of appellate rights?
Certainly. I will appoint appellate counsel. Mr. Eaton, do you understand you have a right to appeal this matter within 30 days after filing of the court's sentence entry?
Yes, I'd like to appeal it today.
Well, you'll need to file appropriate paperwork. I will appoint counsel to represent you. If you're unable to pay for the cost of the transcript, the record, and all relevant documents required for the appeal, they will be provided to you without cost. If you're unable to pay for an appeal, you're entitled to have the notice of appeal filed without payment of the filing fee. And do you understand if you're unable to obtain counsel for an appeal, the court will appoint counsel to represent you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. That's what we're going to be brought to the record.
Dan DeRosa with 19 News. DeAndre Inkton, none too pleased at his 30-year sentence for his role in basically being a pimp to 12 women over the course of a 10-year span from 2014 to 2024. As you heard, he plans to appeal this decision. He's going to be appointed appellate counsel to get that appeal in. He cited something there about illegal search and seizure as to why he thinks he's going to get off on this case. But the judge certainly sending a message and really sort of showing Mr. Inkton the error of his ways, saying it is clear you do not respect women, but yet he was prosecuted by an all-female team and he was given 30 years in prison by a woman judge. The judge throwing that right in his face for being a human trafficker of 12 women. We'll have a complete wrap up of this and all of the day's news when we
Okay, you guys, wait a minute. Let me stop him. Hold up. How you stop it? Oh my God, I'm gonna get it together. My mouse is clicking on other stuff. All right. Whew. So, thank you guys that did hang in there with me for an hour and 20 minutes. I appreciate you guys so much. Please share this video. Please don't forget to like. Yes, just share because people just, I don't know, they just need to see these things. You know, if you know someone who's interested in true life, you know what I mean? Because basically that's what I'm gonna be doing over here is a lot of true life crimes and things like that. Because that's, I don't know, I'm interested in that. So anyway, you guys, again, thank you so much. And I love everybody that stopped by and spent time with me. If I see something else interesting today, I will be popping up with another video. I'll try to make sure it's like no more than a half an hour. But if it's super good like this one, you can just do a replay. Okay, guys. Thank you and goodbye.